Happy Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 183, titled Devils Need to Continue Momentum. Devils need to continue momentum. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Pucks and Pitchforks blog editor-in-chief, Nick Villano, as we're streaming live from the primetime radio studios in the bunker and South Jersey somewhere, and on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. Nick, I love your new studio. You just moved into the confines of your new establishment. How are you tonight?
You like my what are these called? The things that go over all your outlets and your light switches.
The plates?
The plates are sitting everywhere. You got garbage. There's just a window here, so you're gonna see some people driving by my street.
Oh, that's all right.
Listen, it's chaos in this house. I moved in this weekend, and the water heater immediately broke.
Oh, that's
literally the day we moved in. So that kind of put us on hold to unpacking the entire house. So it's been quite the week. But at least we got a Devils win. I got to ask you, Sam, were you getting nervous there that we were going to have to do an 0-3 podcast?
Actually, I was hoping that they would go 0-3, so we had something to complain about.
We still have something to complain about.
I know.
Your Lindy Ruff take would not have survived if they went 0-3.
I'm quadrupling down. I'm quadrupling down on my Lindy Ruff take.
Sometimes you just need to let things go, Sam. Sometimes it's just time to divorce yourself from the take.
He's the only coach in 2023. I'm not saying we should renew him for years to come, but go back to that Pucks and Pitchforks blog article. He's the only coach for 2023. Then we could talk about another.
We're going to lose viewers now. This is what happens. We need to temper down. We have Matt Verderame from Fansided coming on. He's my boss.
Really?
My boss is coming on. So, he's coming on tonight. I'm excited to talk to him. It's funny. Me and Matt have a long history, actually. I've been working for Matt. So I've been doing the Pucks and Pitchforks blog for 5 years? 6 years? I think it's 6 seasons. And like 5 years and change. About 2 years in, me and Matt have always talked to each other on Twitter. And I was like, hey, Matt, you want to get me to talk about some football? And we've all, a lot of people on this podcast who listen know that I do, I used to do a lot more football writing. I've kind of taken a step back with the move and such. But I used to do a lot of football writing. He's like, yeah, just come on. He's like, I like your writing. Come on down. So I've been working for him for a while. Like I said, step back a little bit, but it's been a long time coming that I've wanted him to come on to do a yelling session, a rant session. We'll call it a rant session. He needs to keep those pipes nice and lubricated because he's going to use them a lot for his Chiefs podcast after their outing versus the Bills. So we got to keep him going, but he seems more mad about the Devils start than he is about any Chiefs loss. So that's always interesting.
Oh, there are some comments. Steve Carter says the no water zone. Speaking of your hot water heater.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nah, there was water. It was just cold. I took that shower. It felt like I was in like an icy lake on the Appalachian Trail.
Oh.
It was rough.
Wow.
It was rough. Speaking
of rough. Is there a pun in there that it was rough?
It was about as bad as the coaching in the first 2 games of the season.
Oh,
so it's like, I would rather take a shower in that cold, freezing water just as the temperatures start to hit the 30s, 40s, and 50s than have to watch that Devils team from the first 2 nights of the season. That is my take, Sam. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's pretty accurate, though. I thought the Devils, let's put it this way. Philadelphia. When I went to Chickies and Pete's, I talked to Bill Meltzer, PhiladelphiaFlyers.com. I told him, I said, I don't know why everybody has the Flyers like first overall pick. Tortorella is a good coach, and they're not going to back down so easily, especially on opening night. And that's what we saw. I mean, we saw the Flyers. You know, the Devils jumped up to the 1-0 lead, but deja vu, they gave up the equalizer within like seconds. You know, how many times have we seen that before? You know, and
my whole thing with Tortorella is that I think he has a bad system. I think his offensive system doesn't work anymore. It looks like trap a Jace. It's the trap without the trap part. It's the trap without the turnovers. It doesn't look good. You're not going to win every night getting outshot 39-22 or whatever, you know, and the Flyers have been getting outshot pretty precipitously every night. So, I don't think that he's the answer. I think he would have made this team even worse somehow. But the problem is that a lot of Lindy Ruff's issues from last year are back. It's clearly Lindy Ruff's power play system, and it's still not working. The defensive system is not the best, and it's left goalies out to dry. So we thought that they were going to bring in Burnett and a couple of the other new coaches to, you know, have a bigger voice in the room, right? That was the thought process.
Yeah.
But it seems like it was to give Lindy more control because, you know, Lee Nasruddin had a large control of the defense, and Mark Recchi had a large control of the power play. But now Lindy seems to be doubling down on all his systems, even though he has this brand new coaching staff with a lot of talent on that coaching staff. So, you know, the defensive system looks a little disjointed. We saw it on that Damon Severson mistake that led to the second goal against the Ducks yesterday. We've seen it, like Graves seems to be out of position. Even though his advanced stats are really good, he still seems to be out of position one too many times. And, you know, the goalies are a big problem, Sam. The goalies are a problem because it's all or nothing with Blackwood. He either stops ridiculous shots or he lets in softies, you know, or he loses his stick. Like, you can't lose your stick. And if you do lose your stick, go get it back. The puck's behind the net, go get the stick. Like, or somebody get him his stick. I am team go get the freaking stick. Why? Like, if you're in the defensive zone, you lose your stick, go get a stick. You are more valuable over 30 seconds if you spend 10 getting a stick and 20 having a stick than 30 not having a stick. So it seems like the Devils are still making those same mistakes. But the good news is that they are a ridiculous offensive team who's had terrible luck over the first 3 games. Even against the Ducks, they didn't have the best luck shooting-wise. Ryan Graves hit 2 posts. Somebody else hit a post. I think maybe it was Severson hit a post. They hit at least 3 posts, maybe 4. The good news is they got luck on the other side because Henrique hit a post. So, it could have been a lot worse. What were they put them down 3-0?
Well, they were down 2-0.
And then Henrique hit the post. Was that when they were down 2-0, or was it 2-1 at that point?
I don't remember.
But either way, Henrique got a breakaway. He hit the post. It was a back and forth game, but the Ducks were gassed. I'm not taking a ton out of that win. I'm happy they won. I'm glad they came back and showed some gusto, but that's pretty much all I'm taking out of it because the Ducks were just gassed. And they're not a very good team either. And they were gassed. They got railroaded by the Rangers the night before, and they're coming into the Devil's house. They had a lot of gusto in the beginning, and then they kind of just ran out of steam.
Yeah. By the way, your boss is in the green room.
Oh, bring in my boss.
Well, I want you to do the introductions. I don't want to steal your thunder. You told me a lot of nice things about him.
Bring him up. Let me.
All right.
Matt, what's going on?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Good. Hey, Matt, introduce yourself for the people who don't know who you might be. Let them know who you are, just so they can kind of know. I'm sure they've seen you on Twitter, but they might be like, "Who is that guy again?"
Right. You got my daughter in the picture too here. So I cover the NFL for Fansided. So I'm busy this time of year, and I try to watch the Devils to relax and get away from my job. And I do not get to relax when I watch the Devils. So it's something I was tweeting about the other day. It felt necessary, and here I am.
And yeah, and you're downplaying a little bit. Matt is one of the, a great NFL reporter. He's built his brand huge. A lot of people are following him and seeing what he's done. He's on radio shows across the country. So downplaying a little bit, but I'm sure you've definitely seen a lot of Matt's content. But we are here to talk about the New Jersey Devils, unfortunately. So I'm going to jump right in. Matt, I think we're around the same age. So we remember those really good teams from our youth.
Yes.
It's been about 10 years now since the Devils have been in contention status and, an exciting team year in, year out. And we were told again it was going to be different this year. And after 3 games, it doesn't really look like it. So as a fan, what are you thinking? 3 games in, 1-2 record. What are you thinking?
As a fan, my initial reaction is just that I basically hate them because I feel like they are. I mean, that's my honest to God visceral reaction with them. Look, in all seriousness, I actually get frustrated more with them now than I used to because after they had gone to the Cup final in 2012 and they weren't good for a handful of years, you knew that was coming. They were old. The pipeline wasn't particularly strong. Like, you just understood, if you were realistic, they're just not talented. Like, this team is just not going to be very good. Then they had the one year they made the playoffs, and that kind of fell apart immediately. What's frustrating for me now is they have talent. Like, this team is not without talent. They should at least be very competitive for a playoff spot. And I become infuriated. Like, I never played above high school hockey. Played all my high school years. We had in high school a system that we played. You watch the Devils. There is no system, nothing. Defensively, it's comical. Like, there is just no ability to play in front of the net. There's no ability to play in the corners. Like, everybody harps on the goaltending. Like, the goaltending stinks. But the goaltending is made worse by the fact that everybody always says, well, the other team only got 20 shots. Yeah, but 7 of them were bang, bang in front of the crease. Because nobody's guarding the front of the net. To me, that is just a coaching problem. That is a coaching issue. And if you've watched the Devils since Lindsey Ruff's been here, like, this is not new. And they just keep trotting them out there. And they're like, well, we signed Andre Palat. Who cares? You're not getting any, like, so what? I mean, Palat's fine. I'm not against Andre Palat, but that's not fixing this. Eric Hall for Pavel Zacha is not fixing this. You need a real system, and they don't have one.
And it's funny that you brought up the defense because it's having the NFL guy on. Every defense in that zone should just work like an NFL zone, right? One person fills the gaps of the person who moves. If somebody moves, somebody fills in that gap. It seems like a very simple structure that should be there, but we were talking about it right before you got on. On that second goal yesterday, Damon Severson is literally looking around for where he should be. And that's not a Damon Severson problem. That's a system problem.
Well, to me, that's a combination of problems because Damon Severson's been in the league for a decade and doesn't know how to play hockey in his own end of the ice half the time. Like, that at some point becomes – like, I know Damon Severson splits the fan base because there are times he plays very well, and then there are boneheaded mistakes. Like, to me, if you're a defenseman, I don't want to hear your name ever in your own end of the ice. That is my goal for you. Like, Nick, how old are you?
I'm 34.
So am I. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so Tommy Albaline is a name that people will be like, what? Tommy Albaline? Tommy Albaline never turned the puck over. Like, he was never going to score. He was never going to make an all-star team. But I knew when he was out there, he'd be in the right position. He'd block some shots, and he'd clear the puck. Damon Severson might have a goal and an assist one night and then give up 3 goals by himself the next night. I can't deal with that. You're not consistent enough. And that being said, that goal is the first time I've ever actually done I'm half kidding, like a film breakdown of a goal given up on my Twitter feed. All 5 guys are just staring at the puck. Nobody's aware of where they're supposed to be. And that is where the coaching problem comes in. Like I said, I played high school hockey. I am not equating that to the National Hockey League by any stretch of the imagination. But I, a lot of times, played center. And you always knew, like, okay, look, if the puck's back behind the net, if it goes to the corner, that close defenseman goes that way. The defenseman on the other side moves far post. Center moves down. You form a triangle. I mean, this stuff isn't hard. Like, this is basic stuff you learn when you're 14 years old. And the Devils just routinely aren't in the spots they're supposed to be in, which is a player issue and it's a coaching issue. But to me, then the coach should hold the players accountable. The fact he doesn't hold the players accountable and they have no obvious system defensively screams issue. Also, they never win a puck battle in the corners, ever. They're softer than tissue paper on the wall. So you have this issue where they're not a good face-off team, typically. They don't win puck battles on the wall. So now these teams have the puck along the wall and you're out of position. So it's a triangle from hell. And oh, by the way, to cap it all off, you have no goaltender. So good luck to you. Hopefully it works out when these teams have 8 one-timers from 10 feet out. It's just not sustainable. It's not a way to play winning hockey.
So that all being said, how much time are you giving Lindy Ruff? Like, how much time are you giving him to fix this?
If it was up to me, I would have given Lindy Ruff till about last April. Realistically, look, they're not firing him tomorrow. So realistically, 20 games. Okay. Because my feeling on this is, look, I don't think this team can make the playoffs because I don't think the goaltending can get them there. Mackenzie Blackwood stinks. And I don't – like the fact that he started opening night tells me all I need to know about what they think of their situation. So I don't think they can make the playoffs with that kind of goaltending. It's just too many goals that you're just letting in. Like that, like for example, the Flyers game to start the year. Now, they were not by any means a house of fire defensively. 2 to 3 of those goals, they just can't go in the net. I mean, those goals just absolutely, unequivocally cannot beat you. You know, the first goal is a shot that hits him in the chest. He gives up a rebound right in front of the guy. Like, that's college stuff. That's college stuff, man. Like, you got to catch it. But my point is, while I think that they're probably not making the playoffs because of that, if nothing else, this is an important year for me because you now have a lot of the young pieces on your team that you hope to move forward with. You got to start winning games with this group. You've got to start showing them, hey, look, this is how you win. This is what you do. They have real pieces. The Hugheses of the world, the Heischers of the world. Dawson Mercer's off to a really nice start. Like, you have real pieces on this roster. And I don't want them to start getting into a habit where they just are used to having 75 points a season. That can't be enough. They've got to be able to start getting used to the idea of, like, this is how you win. This is how when you're up 5 minutes or up a goal of 5 minutes, this is how you close a game. This is how you execute a power play correctly. I don't want to watch these kids get ruined because they just get so used to losing hockey. And I also don't want every time they play a home game for them to have to listen to the crowd chant to fire the coach. Like, these kids, like, you've got to start moving into it. And you hired Andrew Brunette, who God knows is going to be a head coach at some point anyway. So you might as well just let him be it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think I agree that I thought they should have moved on from Lindy Ruff. I think they always had a plan. I just don't think we know what it is. But I think it's the three, it just the plan.
Do they know what it is?
I think that they had, I've heard that they've had discussions with Gronberg in Sweden, or not in Sweden. Oh, I think he's Swedish, but I think he's in Switzerland, to come over, and he's on a 3-year deal. But that's things change every year. You know what I mean? So, like, the situation changes, and I think that's also what happened when they hired Brunette. Is that maybe we have this long-term plan, but we can't wait any longer. Like, we're wasting Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes, wasted his entry-level contract. You had him on $900,000, and you literally lit that money on fire. They did the same thing with Nico Hischier, basically. They had that 1 year where they made the playoffs, but they won one playoff game.
Right.
So basically lit his entry level. It's like it's basically like having Lamar Jackson on a $1 million contract in the NFL and just kind of building nothing around him and giving him the worst defense in the league. And you know what? Now that I've kind of brought it there, can you give me like a football equation to this, whether it's this season or whether it's just kind of the 10-year kind of tenure? Like, is there a football equation to what it's like to be a Devils fan right now?
I don't know team for team, but I say, like, look, in football you need a quarterback. Like in hockey you need a goaltender. You just do. If you don't have a goaltender, you're screwed. Okay, and Devils fans certainly of our age know, like, when you do have that certain goaltender, you win. Because I know there were nights as a Devils fan, I went to plenty of games back when I lived in New York, and they used to, my whole family was about 10 minutes from Jersey, from East Rutherford, rather. So I used to go to games all the time. Like, there were nights with him where you'd watch for about 8 to 10 minutes and just think to yourself, they're not going to score. Like, unless they deflect the puck in front or something, they're not beating him. There's no way. I don't think they can get 30 shots, whatever. They're not going to score. You look at the Rangers right now. It's just Shesterkin. Like, they are going to be in every game they play because of him. They're going to be in every single game. When you watch the Lightning, because of their goaltending with Vasilevsky, they're going to be in every single game they play. Yeah. And you know that when you have a goaltender like that, you can have a night where maybe you have 3 or 4 defensive breakdowns and you're not going to give up a goal out of it. Or maybe you give up 1 instead of 3. I think that's probably the best football comparison. But right now, like, look, if you want the upside of the Devils, like I said, the top of this thing, they have talent. This is not some roster where you're like, oh, they're just complete garbage and they can't play. They're not the Flyers. Where you look at the Flyers and just go, oh my God. I mean, that team, like, maybe Tortorella gets every single thing out of it, but they're just not talented. They're not good. The Devils, not only do they have the guys they currently have, they also have kids coming up that you'd expect to be really good. You've got the other Hughes brother who's coming up on defense, right? You got Luke Hughes, who you like, or that kid is a premium prospect, not just for the Devils, but in all of hockey. You have Simon Nemec, who, I wish they would have drafted Shane Wright, but Nemec is still a number 2 pick overall for a reason. Okay, so fair enough. Holtz is now on the team, but by the way, it'd be nice if he plays more than 8 shifts, maybe going forward.
That's wild. That was wild. 555.
You know what kills me? That guy scores a goal in his first game, and then they essentially bench him yesterday. Meanwhile, like, Mackenzie Blackwood's going to get 12 years to prove that he's not good. Like, can you just play the guys who can actually play hockey, please? And I don't care if the 20 or 21-year-old kid stinks one night. I don't care. Put him on the ice and let him play. And I think, at some point here, if you're the Devils, I will say this, like with Fitzgerald, you got to take a swing at some point here, man. Like, I don't want to hear. I argued with Devils fans all season about when they didn't get Gaudreau. And there's, of course, a million reports about whether or not they offered him the most money or they didn't, or why he wanted to go to Columbus and why not. Look, fine. The Devils spent the money on Hamilton, which I still think as long as he's healthy, he'll be a good contract. But I struggle with the Gaudreau thing because to me it's a bigger issue. Like, okay, they didn't get Johnny Gaudreau, fine. But they could have had Alex DeBrincat, and they should have. I don't care. Like, they should have.
Yeah, that one.
And these Devils fans are like, well, he's only got 2 years left, and what if he leaves? You motivate him financially not to leave. You pay him. I mean, like, I hate the idea that, well, you don't go for a big – so what, you overpay Andre Palat so you can have him for 5 years? Like, that's the answer? That's going to fix everything? To me, I'm a Chiefs fan. Even though I cover the whole league, I grew up a Chiefs fan. The one thing I love about the way the Chiefs operate is when they have a hole and they need to address it, they go for the best guy. They don't care. They will spend the money. They're not bashful about it. I feel like with the Devils, like the goaltending thing this year, it's like, well, let's throw a 3rd-round pick at a backup goaltender and just hope it works out. That's not an answer. Yeah. Go into free agency. You want to overpay somebody? Go into free agency and get the best damn goaltender you can and give him $1 million more than he's worth every year. Who cares? Go get somebody. Instead of just throwing a 3rd-round pick at a guy who could barely crack the lineup with the Capitals and just go, I don't know, him, maybe, we'll see. It's not a winning strategy. That's hope. Hope's not a strategy.
And that's the thing. That's the thing with the goalies is it looks like it's early, but it looks like it's the same story.
The same thing.
Right? Even though Blackwood played well in the second and the third, he was terrible in the first. And like that strategy is not going to work because when you're that bad, he allowed 2 goals on 4 shots. 4 shots.
And,
if they were a good team, not on a back-to-back, if they're playing the Rangers who play fast and loose, he might have allowed
they're probably
5
blown
goals
out
first.
Right, they're blown out for that game even starts. And that's why, again, to me, it's so frustrating. If you're Tom Fitzgerald, unless you're blind, you're looking at this roster and going, all right, you know what? Look, we got some guys up front. We've got Hughes, we've got Heischer, we've got Pratt. We've got Sharangovich. We've got Mercer. If Holtz works out, like there's 6 guys. Like that's half your forward group. So you have all that. And now I'm thinking, all right, look, beyond that, we've got Miles Wood and Halla who are bottom 6 guys. That's fine. We can live with that. We've got Palat. Like you can fill out that forward group. That forwards group is not bad. And defensively, I'm thinking I've got Hamilton. I've got Marino, who, by the way, Marino's been the best player on the team through 3 games. I have Hamilton. I have Marino. I have Siegenthaler, who really emerged last year. He's never going to be a big goal scorer, but he's a very good defenseman in his own end. And if you have nothing, like I like Graves, but he hasn't played well to start this year, and I don't know if they're going to keep him anyway after the season. But if I'm him, even if I'm just thinking of those 3 defensemen, I then know I've got Hughes and I've got Nemitz coming up. Hughes will be up probably later this year, or at the very end of this year. Nemitz may be later this year, next year. Like, what is the obvious, unbelievably, 800 megawatt problem on the team? It's your goaltender. How do you do nothing to solve that other than just go, I don't know, a 3rd-round pick for this guy? I mean, that's the kind of thing that drives me crazy because to me, that's the problem. Like, call up every team in the league relentlessly and just say, hey, look, we've got 1 million prospects. We've got our picks. What is it going to take? What is it going to take for us to get, maybe your number 2 goalie, who a lot of people think in the league can be a number 1? What would it take in free agency to just go get the best guy available? What would it take? And they decided to do none of that, and now are giving up 1 million goals on 5 shots every night.
And I'm trying to think of who could be possibly available. Like, who could they even go after at this point? It's too early.
Oh, at this point,
teams aren't doing it. The only possibility is John Gibson, who, the Ducks goaltender, who has said he wanted out before. Maybe not. Maybe he. But then you're signing up for a really long contract on a guy you don't really know is that good because he hasn't been for a while. There's Jonathan Quick, but again, he's the same thing. I don't think you're signing up for a fix. Because the problem is there's 7 really good goalies in the league, and everybody else is just incredibly inconsistent.
But that's the thing, though. I agree with you. I agree with everything you said. But I also feel like you're right. But they don't have to. Look, it'd be great if they found Marty Brodeur reincarnate here. Okay, but I don't expect them to do that. My problem is you have the worst goaltending situation in hockey. Can you get yourselves to where you're average? Because if they're average, they're probably a playoff team. If they're average and have any defensive system, they're probably a playoff team. Or at bare minimum, a team that has 90 points and they're right on the edge. That's where I get frustrated. Think about if you play hockey, if you play on the Devils, and you're busting your rear end all night, and you're out shooting the other team by a 2-1 margin or maybe by a 60% margin, whatever the case may be, okay, and you're down 3-1 because your goaltender can't stop anything. It's just at some point you're like, what am I doing? Why am I even bothering with this? This is a joke. Frustrating it's got to be if you're Jack Hughes or it's Austin Mercer and you create 6-7 chances a night and you turn around, your goaltender gives up an 80-footer because he just stinks and can't make a play on a puck. You're like, why am I here? What is the point of this? Or how frustrating it's got to be if you're one of the defensemen on this team that can play defensive hockey and you turn around and your other teammates have absolutely no idea what they're supposed to be doing on the ice because your coach didn't bother to go over it while you practice that power play that's never going to score a goal. Get a coach and get a goaltender. The coach is, I think, the easier part, right? You would think, be hire and fire somebody. The goaltending part, they're not going to fix during the season. But that's a situation where, I don't care what you have to do. you throw every available resource at it until you get it right. Because without getting that right, the rest of this team you could just light on fire. None of it matters.
Yeah, and I think that Fitzgerald, to his credit, thought he fixed it with Crawford. I think Crawford was like, I'd rather die than play for this team. Like, he retired in the middle of this. Like,
I also would rather die than have to watch this team.
And then, he got Bernier, which was a good signing at the time, but old goalies have hip problems. So, we saw that with Corey Schneider. It turned one of the best goalies of this generation into Swiss cheese. And he doubled down on Blackwood on what looked like a really good contract at the time. Like, when he signed that, what was it, $2.8 million per year contract, it looked like a really good contract. And it's almost like he keeps doubling down on it because he's like, I want this to be my, coup de grace.
It's going to be his coup de grace, just not in the way he thinks.
And honestly, there was an opportunity right in front of them to just go balls to the wall on a couple goaltenders this offseason. You could have offer sheeted Jake Ottinger in Dallas. Yeah. I know nobody does offer sheets because they're too expensive. You could have given him a contract that would have given the Stars 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick. Okay, that sucks to give up, but Ottinger is one of those great goalies that's lifting the Stars by himself. Yeah. He's awesome again this year. He's going to be
literally almost beat Calgary by himself in the playoffs last year. Yeah. I've never seen a team get more outplayed in my life, and they almost won the series because Calgary just couldn't beat him. It was unbelievable how great he was. But even if you can't get him, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Darcy Kemper, wasn't he a free agent this offseason?
Yeah. Yeah, go after Kemper, who won the Stanley Cup.
I'm not saying Darcy Kemper is Ken Dryden, okay? But my God, he is compared to what the Devils are trotting out there right now. That is the frustration I have. You either commit to winning or you don't. And, look, as I said here, I'm a Knicks fan, okay? I am used to 20 years of garbage with the Knicks because the Knicks love to do this thing where it's like, well, can we get Donovan Mitchell? Well, we're not going to give up Quentin Grimes. It's like, what? Well, yeah, look, Quentin Grimes is good. It's like, that's great. Is he ever seen an all-star team? Well, no. They'll then trade Quentin Grimes. Sports are dominated by the teams that have stars. Like the Devils, when they were winning all those cups, they had stars on the team. Yeah. Brewer's arguably the greatest goaltender to ever play. You had Stevens, you had Niedermayer, you had Elias, you had all these. I mean, they're all going to the Hall of Fame. Danico's not going to the Hall of Fame, but his numbers in the raft. He's a great player. You had guys who drove play, the A-line with Sikora and Arnott. You had guys who other teams feared. Rafalski, who's not a Hall of Famer, but was a really good player. John Maddens of the world. Those guys, Scott Gomez, they drove play. They changed the game. When they were on the ice, you have to count for them. And the Devils actually do have some forwards that are like that now. They really do. The Devils have some guys, obviously led by Hughes, but there are others in Bratt and Heischer and so forth. Mercer, I think, is going to be right there with them, who are really good players. But if somebody shows me one more graph about expected goals for, I'm gonna get into a fist fight. I don't care until they decide at the Prudential Center to change the scoreboard to show expected goals for instead of actual goals. Please stop talking about it. I don't care. They need to score actual goals, which, by the way, I think they will do this year. I think they will score plenty. But they need to also stop giving up so many goals. And if they find a goaltender and they get a real coach, I honest to God think this team could jump 30 points. But you need to do that. And then everything else follows. Then it becomes a hell of a lot easier in the offseason to get that third-line winger. Because that guy's like, man, I'll go play there. You kidding? I'm going to see third D pairings, and I'm going to get to play behind all those guys, and maybe I can snipe some points on a power play. I'm good. I'll go there. All right? You don't have to overpay anymore. Now it's easier. Now it's easy to get those upper crust third and fourth line guys who are going to go, look, man, awesome. I'll go in there. I'll slot in next to Palat, a few other guys, and I'll score my 15 to 20, and I'll get a bunch of easy points on the power play. I'll play 15 minutes. I'll never see a first D pairing. It'll be great. But right now you don't have that because of what's going on.
And you're pairing them with, you say Palat, but I mean, if you're really looking at it, you have a chance to play with Holtz. You have a chance to play with Wood. You have a chance to play with Yeah, really
Right.
talented
Right.
players. If you're a good team,
Right.
and I'm not big on expected goals. That reminds me of the WAR argument in baseball, which is like nobody can really tell you what it means except that it means something important. It's like great, but I like to delve into what I call palatable advanced stats. High danger chances. I know what a high danger chance looks like.
Yeah.
I at least can see it and be like, okay, that makes sense. So I delve into those, and I actually was looking at them today, and funnily enough, Jack Hughes and Dawson Mercer have the same amount of high danger, like an individual high danger chances, and they are 6th in the league, and 4 of the 5 people ahead of them have played 4 games. So, their poor game average is one of the best in the league. They've been both phenomenal, sometimes on the same lines, sometimes on different lines. But when you look at this offense, it is stacked to the gills. Even ignoring that 4th line. And I like Bastion, and I think it would make a lot more sense just to put Hall on that line and send McLeod to the moon, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
But you have at least 3 lines on a nightly basis that can score at any time, and it's showing in the results. But every single time you go to there, the second they make a mistake, it's a breakaway for Adam Henrique, or it's a 2-on-1, or it's an all-out rush, or a defensive mistake.
Every time the puck crosses the Devil's blue line, it should be labeled as a high danger chance, because you just never know what's coming. There was a play, you may not even remember, or you might, I don't know. They were playing the Flyers on opening night, and they're in the offensive zone. And I think I'm like 99% sure it was an even strength play. Severson's at the point, and the other defenseman, I think it was Grace, had rotated down. So he's the only guy at the point. And there's 2 Flyers in front of him. And it's one of those things you could almost see in slow motion. Get rid of the puck. Get rid of the puck. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you shoot it, you dump it in the corner, you pass it, whatever you do, get rid of the puck. And he tried to beat both guys and turned into a 2-on-0 the other direction. It's just like, that's the kind of stuff. Now, somehow they didn't score on that, which is a miracle of all miracles. But, again, that's what's frustrating with the Devils is like, I don't look at them and just go, oh, well, they're just not good. This is the Mike Camilleri era where they stink, and there's nobody on this team. You're right. I mean, this team, like I said,
all in on Michael Ryder.
I'm looking at the Knicks right now. They're down 11 to Memphis. The Knicks stink. I have no hope for this team. The Knicks are going to be a play-in team at best and get their rear ends kicked, and that'll be all of it. I look at the Devils, and I get really frustrated because all 3 of the teams they've played so far this year, they are clearly more talented than. Mm-hmm. They are a better team than these 3 teams, and they're 1-2. And a lot of it is just because of bad hockey, bad mistakes, right?
Bad power play,
poor coaching. And I got to say, Ruff pisses me off. If someone who works in media has had to ask these questions. If somebody you get into a presser after the Flyers game, you get all huffy because it's like, why did Brad only play 16 minutes? What, that's not enough ice time? No, it's not, actually, Lindy. It's not enough ice time.
That's why I asked the question.
Hope you would know that. They need a coach and they need a goaltender. The bad news is that's probably not going to fix this season. The good news is if they get that stuff, they could be really good in a hurry, especially if Hughes is as good as everybody thinks he's going to be when he comes up. You could be really good really fast. And in a division, by the way, that I actually think is coming back to the pack. The Islanders are regressing. The Blue Jackets are not good. The Flyers are terrible. I think the Penguins and the Capitals, I think, are pretty maxed out at this point. Like, they are what they are. They're older teams. The Canes are good. The Canes aren't high on stars, but they're good. And then the Rangers are fine. I don't think Kreider's scoring 30 power play goals again this year, but they're fine. But if you're the Devils, if you get goaltending and a coach, you could compete. You're not overwhelmed in this division. But without those 2 things, you're screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I let you go, just because we're in a yelling mood, I have to ask about jerseys. So we're not fans of the jersey. I'm still not a fan. All those revisionist history people can get off my lawn. I hate the jersey. I will always hate the jersey. Sam, are you team jersey now?
I've always hated it. The only thing I would say is if they put the Devils logo on it, it wouldn't be too bad. But I just hate everything it represents.
So
do you guys,
they
do you guys
tease.
ever do you guys ever swear on this podcast?
Sure.
I'm just asking. I don't know. I know we all have different roles on our podcast. I'm
Yeah,
asking.
listen. We'll bleep it in the downloaded version.
No, that's fine. No. I can make my point
Don't-
without doing it. I was just curious. Those are the worst effing things I've ever seen in my life. Those jerseys are somehow worse than their goaltending.
Oh
Like the Devils have perfect jerseys, perfect, red and black with the white. It's a great. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect, and they're going to ruin it with that nonsense that they got to trot out there in the effort to make $8 more at the team store, so they can sell it to 3 people who are blind and will actually wear them. Those things are awful. I mean, there's no color, there's no pop. And it's like for all the years that the Devils always didn't have an alternate, when everybody was going alternate crazy and it felt like they had like 5 jerseys a team, the Devils actually like stayed out of the fray and didn't do it. And now that thing, like I'm with Sam. They had a black jersey, but it had the Devils crest on it. Okay, I can at least live with that. It's maybe not my favorite, but I can live with it. That alternate that they've got now, you couldn't have a bonfire big enough. That thing is brutal.
It's bad.
The worst is they paraded around. I mean, watching Eric LeGrand like wear that was just I don't know. It was too much for me. It's
They
like,
gave it
please
to what's his name? The singer with all the tattoos on his face. He's in the Jägermeister commercial. What the heck is it?
Couldn't
Post
tell
Malone.
you, but okay. They're so
Yeah,
proud.
they gave
of
it
it.
to Post Malone.
They're so proud
It's
of
the
it.
greatest
It's
thing.
awful. It is so embarrassingly bad. Like I don't even love the old like the Italian like the Christmas jerseys, but at least they break them out for like once or twice a year. That's cool. That's fine. It's a heritage thing. I'm cool with that. If they want to change up the jerseys, how about wearing like once or twice a year like the Kansas City Scouts jersey, or once or twice a year breaking out like the Colorado Rockies jersey? I get at least it's part of who you are. It's your history. That's cool. I get behind that. That jersey or whatever you want to call it, that honestly might be the worst uniform in sports. That thing is atrocious. There are some other contenders, strong contenders, but that's right up there.
And this is one of the best in sports. This
It's
is what
perfect.
the red and black color
perfect.
scheme with traces of white. This is the old one where it's got the stripe on the bottom, but it's still, even without the stripe, the Adidas jerseys I think are so clean. The logo is the best in sports. I will fight anybody who says differently. The New Jersey Devils logo, it just worked from the get-go. They just did something right in 1982. They put it up there. And to put this, and not to have the logo nowhere on the jersey is another massive gripe.
No, listen, again, it is awful. It is like, what it reminds me of, honestly? It's like when we went through that phase a couple of years ago in the NHL when Ottawa and Tampa just were like sends, bolts. And I thought to myself, like, oh, God, it can't get any worse, right? And then the Islanders trotted out those, like, Islanders just straight across. I like those, that weird, like, grayish color. It's awful, right? It just looked brutal. It's almost like the Devils saw all those jerseys and said, wait a minute. We could do something even worse than that. Watch this. And then just threw those things on. Like, oh, my God. Like, my question is, for a National Hockey League team, that had to get through rounds and rounds of like, okay, we think this is good. We think this is marketable. We think all those people involved, every one of them, should have been fired. Like, that is so bad. You have the perfect uniform. And like Sam said, if you want a black jersey, okay. I'm not a big fan of like black uniforms, but all right, fine. Throw the same jersey together. I'm good. I'll live with that alternate 10 games a year. But that thing, it's literally hard to watch them when they wear that uniform.
The best, Matt, is they said Marty himself said he was part of the design. It's like,
oh my God, I love Marty. You got to be fired.
That's the worst save he's missed in his entire career.
Oh, it's like letting one in from the other side of the ice. Like, what happened? Who? I have so many questions. One of these days, you know what? I'll put my reportive and my journalistic powers to work. I will write the oral history of that jersey. Like, who did that? How did this come to be? I used to know people who used to work there. Now I don't know that I still do anymore. But I'll put my hard
I
hat
could
on.
connect you. I know a couple people, and then I know the
Okay.
people who know the people, so I could definitely connect you.
It's unbelievable. Like it really.
It's
When you have I don't mind. Like if you're one of these teams like Columbus, it's been around for like an hour and a half, and you want to trot out some garbage. Hey, look, you have no history. The Devils have been there for 40 years now. Like you have a history. You have banners. You have cups. Like have some. It's like when the Bruins started wearing that big bear head on their jerseys.
yeah.
You know, and you're like, guys, stop. Like you're the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's bad. It's
And
really
the best is they're paying homage to defunct Jersey teams that nobody knew about back in 1942 or something like that.
1924.
That's it. I don't know.
There's a reason they're defunct.
Yeah, exactly.
And they played one season.
Leave them there. Leave them where they are. By the way, you know what at least would have been somewhat cool? Like if you wanted to, because obviously they love the wordplay of Jersey and New Jersey.
Yeah.
Fine. If you wanted to do that, you could have even done something where you want a black jersey with the Devil's crest, and then maybe the shoulder patches are like something with like the silhouette of like the state of New Jersey or something.
Easy.
Fine. You didn't have to create the worst thing anyone's ever seen, and then just go. Although you know what, I got one that I still to this day think is worse. You guys remember the old Edmonton Oilers alternate jersey with the rock dripping oil?
Oh, that was pretty bad.
That's got to be the worst. That's got to
terrible.
be. That thing, I actually saw them play the Devils years ago with a girlfriend at the time, and they played the Oilers, and the Oilers wore those things, and then and the Devils were great at that. It was like during their cup run, and the Devils lost like 8-3. And I remember just being like, I've got to look at the Oilers in this, and they're giving up 8 goals to this team. Oh, it was unfortunate, but those still are, I think, the worst jerseys I've ever seen.
Well, Matt, I want to thank you for coming on the Let's Go Devils podcast. Your initial intro, but we went overtime. We had but we were rolling, we were rocking. So I don't think this is the last time we're going to have you on. But let the people know where they can find all your content. Stack in the Box, Arrowhead Addict. Let them know where all your stuff is.
Thanks. Yeah, guys. No, thanks for having me. Anytime, I'm happy to come on, either talk or flat out just vent about this team. So, you can find me obviously at fansided.com. We're on the National NFL Reporter and certainly on my Twitter feed, which is just my name, at Matt Verderame, you see on the screen. I'm on there way too much. I'm always tweeting out my NFL stuff. You got the Stack in the Box column, which covers the whole league, goes out Monday morning. And then between Tuesday and Thursday, there's the Power Rankings, Quarterback Rankings, picks, and some features throughout the week. Tomorrow, there's a piece coming out about the Giants and the Jets, how they've revitalized football in New York. Let's go ahead and check that out. And then, the podcast, Stack in the Box, Tuesdays and Sundays at noon Eastern, live on YouTube. There's no shortage of content, that's for sure.
Matt is a content machine. Never stops, never stopping. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. We'll definitely plug all that stuff. We'll put out – I will put out that Giants and Jets feature on the Pucks and Pitchforks feed too, just to kind of get it out there to everybody so we can kind of get more eyes on that. So, Matt – thank you so much for coming on, joining us, yelling a little bit, ranting a little bit, but we appreciate having you on, and we'll definitely have you on again soon.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Matt. That is Matt I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry, Nick.
Verderame.
Yeah. Fansided National Reporter. He's funny. That was good.
He was going.
That was good. And then once he got into the jersey, I had to join in.
Yeah.
I still
do you know the whole point? The whole point of me bringing up the jersey is that the reverse retros are supposed to come out tomorrow.
Wow.
And they might be blue.
Oh.
They might be blue. They're just going to be like, we're going to make you want to watch these jerseys. We're going to give you a blue jersey. And I don't think it's going to be a Scouts jersey. I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like, we're paying tribute to the Scouts with the Devils logo, which is just wear the Scouts jersey at that point. You know what I mean? But again, we're paying tribute to a jersey, to a team that, what were the Scouts? The Scouts were, it was 74-78? Or was it less than that? It was less than that, right? It was like 70-72 or
74 to
73.
76, and then I think maybe 77 to 82.
Is that what it was?
Was the
Colorado? Rockies?
Something like that. We could ask Chico. He would know. reverse
Yeah,
driver.
I'm looking at these. I'm looking at all the teasers for the reverse retro. Thinking blue. Thinking blue.
I
Get ready
swear
for
to
a
you,
Twitter meltdown, Sam.
you know, somewhere.
You know, I'm going to write about this tonight. I'm going to write about the blue jersey.
Somewhere out there, there's a man named Jeff Vanderpeek that's probably looking at this. Being a hardcore Devils fan, he was, he did his best. It's probably like, how did this ever happen?
I've tried multiple times to get Jeff Vanderbeek on the podcast. If anybody knows him out there, tell him to come on. He has an open invitation to any Devils podcast.
Do you think he's probably under a 25-year non-disclosure agreement? That's probably what it is.
He was the treasurer for the Republican candidate for governor, or whatever that is. Like the state treasurer candidate, whatever. He was part of the cabinet of the Republican candidate for governor. So, he's still out there.
I would love to have him on. I would love to have him on, but.
And honestly, I wouldn't even ask him about the state of the team because I don't think he's going to speak bad. Because that's always going to come off like bad sour apples or whatever it is.
What I would ask him
sour grapes. Wow.
What I would ask him is like, how freaking cool was that? Like, none of us can ever say that we bought my favorite team.
Yeah, that's dope. You had two in your lifetime. You've had two owners who did that.
Yeah, Steve Cohen.
Yeah,
is one, and the New Jersey Devils, obviously with Jeff Vanderbeek, did that. Let's see, what other sports are the New York Football Giants? I mean, they basically inherited the team.
Yeah, I mean they're probably fans, but they've been how long have they been owners? 50 years, 60 years?
Since the I don't know. I mean, the Mara family goes back to the beginning of the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's a heck of an investment if you ask me.
Yeah.
To pass down. But just getting back to, that we all love Eric Legrand, but just putting that jersey on him, and it's like everything that jersey represents is just I don't know. It's everything that's wrong with the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And nothing's good has happened in that jersey. There's no history. There's nothing good, so makes it a little bit worse.
Yeah. And have you noticed like everything is about the story?
Yeah.
The content team, everything.
But they've worn it so much now. Like they wore it more often. And this is do you know what really makes me mad? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but now okay. I'm steaming.
Yeah, go right ahead.
They wear that so much that they don't wear this one anymore.
Exactly.
They very rarely wear this one, and this is such a dope jersey.
I mean. There's no identity of this team. I mean, that's part of it. I wanted to ask Matt if, in his opinion, I feel like the entire organization just coddles these players. They don't kick them in the ass. I want to see more of that because to me, that's tough love, accountability. That's really Jersey, if you ask me. But you know what? Half of these people don't even understand New Jersey. They don't understand the fan base. I ranted about this on the Woo Report. And again, I don't want to be like a negative Nancy here, but the reality is there's a reason why we get bombarded with all these surveys and focus group meetings. I remember going to a focus group meeting, and my friend Durango Steve's like, they're going to give you $100 gift card, Amex gift card. You got to go. You just have to answer a bunch of questions. So I'm sitting in this meeting, right? It was all back and forth, whatever. Everything was recorded. And I'll say this again, and maybe I shouldn't say it out loud, but you heard it here on the State of the Fan Address. The last question of that focus group meeting, all these Devils fans that couldn't agree on anything around the table was, I don't know the exact quote, but it was like, what are your feelings if the Devils decide to switch national anthem singer? And it's like, you should not even ask that question. The entire room actually got up and was pissed and was like unanimous. No Arlette, no Devils. That's it. And we knew that they were recording everything that was being said in that meeting. And it's just unbelievable how out of touch that they would even dare ask that kind of question in the focus group meeting. It's one thing if they ask about, do you want more ketchup in the ketchup, near your chicken fingers, something like that. That's one thing. But I couldn't believe they even asked that. It's just,
and that's the crazy thing. Like, so I was in Tampa for 4 years.
Yep.
And the Tampa Bay Lightning fans feel the same way about Sonia Brooks and Kirksey as the Devils fans feel about Arlette. And like, there's a special bond that a fan base has with their top anthem singer.
Yeah.
And it's weird, right? Because like, they're not an impact on the game at all. They are a very small impact on the game presentation, but just the fact that a familiar voice is kicking off every game was incredibly important, especially to hockey.
Yeah.
The Yankees have a different anthem and seventh inning singer, or no, they have that same recording for the seventh inning now, but they have a different anthem singer all the time. I'm not sure what the Mets do, but I'm assuming it's similar, right? They have a different anthem singer every day. I'm not sure what basketball does. But football has different anthem singers all the time.
Yeah.
And hockey's different.
Yeah.
And you got the two anthems sometimes with Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a special moment. It's a special part of the game, and to think that you should ever change it is not smart. So,
well, I mean, in full disclosure, I'm now friends with Arlette. I met her, believe it or not. I had her sing. My wife and I decided to have her sing the national anthem before our first dance at our wedding. That's actually
nice.
How we met Arlette, but we did everything by phone to book it, all that. So it was actually more professional. But then we got to know her, and she's a lovely lady. I mean, if anything, she's the epitome of what the Devils are trying to do. Here's somebody that is an immigrant from the islands, Trinidad, came over to our country to go to college. I believe she majored in biology, got her bachelor's degree, but she followed her dream of being a singer. And then eventually she got discovered by Lou, and Lou's like, I work for this hockey team. You want to sing for one night? And the rest is history. Like, what better person to have in your organization? I would be marketing her tremendously.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not the New Jersey Devils, so.
At least they listened. That's what I will give them all the credit in the world for listening.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's certain teams that would just make their decision. That's like, well, I don't care what you say because I want this. You know what I mean? Or my daughter is a singer, so go pound rocks. It's so good on them for listening. I feel like this podcast was just we went off the rails pretty quickly, and we were driving on rocks the entire time.
Oh yeah,
but it's pretty good, right? Sometimes it's fun to do that.
Well,
first week of the season,
every once in a while.
In the books.
Yeah.
But that's all I got, Sam. I'll write something about the Blue Jersey tonight. So I'll get that up on pucksandpitchforks.com tomorrow morning. Try to get ahead of the reverse retro jersey reveal. It won't be terribly long, but just kind of my thoughts on Blue Jersey. But yeah, Vinny Parisi wrote about the Ducks game. So did David Holliday. So those are up. John wrote about 5 players the Devils could trade for now. Obviously, there would have to be some cap movement to make that work, but that is up on pucksandpitchforks.com. Follow the Twitter account at pitchforkedpuck. But yeah, that's what we got going on pucksandpitchforks.com right now, Sam. Go check out the website. Go check out. We got content coming in every day. Every single day. We're going to have even more for the end of October because I got to I've promised a couple pieces that the beginning of the season depression didn't help the motivation to write, but I'm going to get those to you by the end of the month. We got to get you a bunch of articles by the end of the month, so look for that at pucksandpitchforks.com.
pucksandpitchforks.com. Also, thank you to Ryan. He sent me pictures. He won tickets. For yesterday's game.
Nice.
Yeah, we met some fans at American Whiskey. Really cool fans. Keep on going to American Whiskey as well. What else? And tomorrow, Game Day Live and Devils After Dark before the Devils take on the New York Islanders on Long Island. Michael Hayes says he's going to bring new listeners and viewers to our podcast, and he's going to the game, apparently. So, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you for watching. And until next time, let's go Devils.